That is the South Shore Brass Band in the background, playing a nice concert out here at Deep River County Park. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Calumet Wilderness with music. Finally, I broke down and got a band to play, so you get some background music with this. I am your host, Sam Love. You know me, I don't like fancy production values. I like to do this stuff quick and get it out there. So like, getting music on these, low priority, but the band happens to be playing here today. And even this gets even better. I feel like in some small way, we saved the day because the tuba player had gone missing and we actually found him in a different part of the park. So many native plants in bloom out here. So many nettles. We saw elderberry, wild ginger, all kinds of amazing things out here. So yeah, I could see why this is such a popular place. I've heard there's a secret Paw Paw Patch in here too, but I'm not going to say any more about that. I hear you have to jump the river. Oh, a great source for the history of this part of Deep River can be found in Timothy Ball's old history books. There's a baseball game happening here. I'm waiting for one of these baseballs to end up in the river to see how they get them out. We've also got the Deep River Grinders Vintage Baseball out here, which really is one of my favorite historical interpretive events out here in the region. I actually think it is the best historical interpretive program that's out here. And I don't know about any history of like baseball happening in the region. Folks were far too busy eking out a living in the 1840s and 50s for kind of pastimes, but still it's a really, really fun program. John Wood arrived from western Massachusetts in 1835. Really found himself a prime spot on the river. Of course, the current's much faster here. He builds the first sawmill in Lake County, 1837, and 3 years later, the grist mill here in 1840. The one that currently stands is from 1876 and was constructed by his son. It was abandoned until about 1976 when it was picked up by Lake County Parks and is what it is today. Yeah, this was one of the few places that was like acknowledged as historical out here. The rest of the region was pretty new, but this was old. This and maybe the square in the old courthouse in Crown Point. Yeah, so an 1850s style baseball game's a great excuse to kind of talk about what this area was like in the middle of the 19th century. Stick around. Ball mentions how the river has a greater current here, steep banks, and how scenic that must have been for the people living around here. Ball also mentions a mound that was in this vicinity, although it doesn't say exactly where, but he describes the mound of being about 20 feet tall in a flat iron shape with a steep bank. Somewhere in this vicinity. Well, Ball also mentions that the original owner of this land around here was a Potawatomi, Quashno, who he describes as a floater. In other words, these were Native Americans who got the initial land claim, but were doing so usually at the behest of a white settler who then paid them off. And in this case, I think Wood paid about $1,000 for this land here where he put his mill. This was a great transit nexus out here, even before white settlement. The Sauk Trail, which roughly follows what is today 73rd. And of course you had the river here. While researching, I found this really great reference talking about in 1841, two early pioneers did a 3-week canoe trip starting in Deep River, just a bit north of Crown Point, near the headwaters, and eventually made all the way up to Chicago. So I'm thinking they would have done Deep River to the Little Cal, and then from there to Lake Michigan, up to Chicago. They found 5 otters along the way and managed to make a little money from the trip. I don't know if I'd want to take 3 weeks on these waters out here. I feel like I'd miss my comfortable bed, my wonderful home and wife and cats. Deep River, besides being a waterway, also has an important role in this game of baseball out here. In fact, it forms a rather unique ground rule. I'll just read right from their bulletin here. Grinder home rule. When a hit ball lands in the river on a fly or after one bound, the striker is limited to 1 base and base runners advance only 1. If said ball goes into the water after more than 1 bound, the runner may advance at their risk. A net resides on the side of the sugar shack to shag balls. So you see, this really gets at the essence of what the old game was. You know, you don't have these perfect conditions. You got a kind of a lumpy field and buildings and people in the way, and then this river, which plays such an important part in determining how these games come out. There was a well-hit ball that would have been a home run anywhere else. It's just a single here. The striker actually apologized to his teammates for hitting too hard.
I think it's further up. To your right. No, your other way. Go further back. Why to the right? Oh, where is it now? I don't know. Just don't break the hole again.
Well, before I check out, I just want to say congrats to Diane Leto, who has been an interpreter and a worker here. She's got a new job with the Portage Parks Department. So congratulations on that, and cheers for all the great things you did here. And especially thank you for sharing my videos about this amazing place. All right, hey, check out some of my other videos about Deep River. Click that subscribe button. I'll see you in another episode of the Calumet Wilderness.